It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And bugs fear the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll eliminate those bugs, bees, and termites. And stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Ed Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Ed Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576, or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail. This is what conservation and repurposing is all about.
Welcome to Inside Track with Bruce Ash and Ed Wilkinson on the Live the Dream Media Network.
Hello, everyone, and a very pleasant good morning to you wherever you may be. Welcome to episode 31 of Inside Track. Bruce Ash and
Ed Wilkinson.
Coming to you from the Live the Dream Media Studios in Marana, Arizona. We're just about 2 weeks away from Christmas, and the first night of Hanukkah starts this Sunday. I can't wait to light the menorah. What a great time of the year.
It is a wonderful time of the year, Bruce. And before we jump into today's Big Wednesday show, here's a preview for next week's show. Retired U.S. Navy Captain Bob Wells joins us for a special visit with the former USS Cole Captain Kirk Lippold. It's going to talk about the days of valor aboard the Cole when it was attacked by Al-Qaeda fighters in a mostly peaceful protest, and a current security threat assessment in the Middle East. To wrap up 2025, we'll return on Christmas Eve with a special Cowboy Christmas with the two galoots from the Voices of the West, Harry Alexander, and his partner, former longtime Hollywood stuntman, Bunker de France.
Eb and I are still conjuring up a live New Year's Eve show. We'll figure that out. Details to follow. Thanks for joining us today on the Live the Dream Media app. We're watching us on X, Facebook, YouTube, and our other platforms. Before we hear from our guest, David Bossie from Citizens United, here's something to consider on the stage spectacle at Taco Giro last Friday afternoon, which was directed by and starring Jesse Smollett, Adelita Smollett Grijalva. She's back to her political stunts and tricks. You might recall she orchestrated a TUSD board meeting where she cheered students opposed to SB 1070 who chained themselves to chairs and railings in their conference room. She has her father's flair for the dramatic. She also supported daddy's stunts, including calling for an economic boycott of Arizona to protest 1070. Well, SB 1070, Eb, as we know, is still law in Arizona, and his daughter is anxious to honor her dead daddy's long line of failures, that is failing to do anything that actually benefits her constituents in the 7th District. Her stunt claiming she was fired on with pepper spray by ICE agents is a splashy...
She was tackled.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. Right to the ground. Wearing her pearls and pumps, and she claimed contempt for the truth now that she's she's got Papa Rival's seat in Congress, and it's just plain lying BS. Hopefully someone soon will ask the question how she and the mobs she's affiliated with gained confidential intelligence that the feds were executing IRS search warrants at that restaurant.
Are you saying that they just weren't happened to be in the area randomly?
She just was enjoying a taco at her favorite taco shop, she said.
Margarita, no ice.
Inside. These guys are working inside courthouses all across the country, providing intel of legal enforcement, allowing mobs to confront lawful operations. Adelita Smollett Grahova, she's a real piece of work.
No kings.
No kings.
No kings. The first half of today's show is going to be brought to you by our good friend Eric Rudin from Essential Pests. Call Eric at Essential Pests to keep your home free of bugs, vermin, insects, and weeds. Call them today at 886-3029. Bruce and I are pleased to welcome Citizens United President David Bossie to Inside Track. David.
Welcome. He's there. We know it.
David.
You need to get your camera going there, buddy.
Well, while he's doing that,
yeah.
The leaks that allow people like Adelita access to that area, this is verging on criminal.
They have this kind of a like an Instagram message that goes out telling people where to go. But this is just strictly spontaneous. Nobody knew what was going on. This is very organized.
Absolutely.
All around the country.
At what point do they leak something that doesn't exist to get people to go there?
Well, I think they already have. I mean, they've attacked the ICE center
We're
here.
going to have a raid of this one shop.
Right.
And the only people who show up are the protesters.
Well, that would be. I think their intel is good enough so that's not going to happen unless false flags are sent out, sending them someplace.
And I think we need to do that.
Well, I'm not quite as I'm a bit more risk averse than you.
Oh, all right.
All right. What's happening with David? Is he with us?
David.
Does he? But he's all hooked up. All right. Well,
I'll give him a call.
we're
David.
Yeah.
We're waiting for you.
Well, it says waiting for host on my side.
Hey, Shay, the message says waiting for host.
David?
Can you turn your camera on and your microphone?
Yeah, well, I mean, it says waiting for host. I can see myself in my camera and my microphone is not muted.
Okay, Shay, help us out. We're working on it.
Well, David, if we can't get you through the video, and hopefully we do, I did send you our phone number, and we have some groovy-looking glamour shots of you. So maybe we'll just put your mug on the screen, and we'll go from there. Because I know your time is important.
Well, and I have a hard out at. I have to be in a car at 11:30, so I got about 11:25,
Okay.
11:20. You know, I mean, I only got now. You know, a few minutes.
All right.
Now.
Let's just start talking
10
now.
minutes.
All right, let's just go through your cell, which is attached to the to Eb's phone, and we'll go from there. Eb.
Hey, David, thanks for joining us today. Can we start on some Citizens United news generated by the Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor in the last day or so regarding the protected free speech?
Well, look, there's a big First Amendment case on campaign finance and limits in front of the Supreme Court right now. Citizens United, the organization that I lead, it was a plaintiff in a case that I filed back oh my God, it's been so long ago now. 2007, I filed.
Yep.
And we won in 2010. That's the Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission case, which overturned, a decade of illegal government, regulations that were anti-First Amendment, anti-free speech. And so, every time there is a campaign finance case nowadays, it's based on the premise of what they ruled in our case and obviously several others.
So you've got Justice Sotomayor. She's expressing concerns about the impact of Citizens United decision on the political representation, particularly highlighting that money in politics creates barriers for women and people of color seeking office. And she believes that the overwhelming influence of money undermines the integrity of the political system and the ability of diverse voices to be heard. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, guys, that actually is what a left-wing propagandist says, not a Supreme Court justice. That's not; those are feelings. Okay,
Right.
The justice is discussing her feelings. The Constitution and the First Amendment, doesn't. It is not based on feelings. It's based on the law and based on the Constitution and the First Amendment. And so, she can feel whatever she wants. She's alone on the court on that. I think we won a 5-4 decision. 25 years ago now, and we, I believe it would be a 6-3 decision today.
Yeah.
And so we're well within. Look, in the last 25 years, the left has wanted to blame Citizens United for more money in politics and corruption in politics. Certainly, there is more money today than there was 25 years ago, but that's the trend of the political nature that we are in.
Oh, I just lost him. Hang on.
But they can't point to more corruption, and that is what drives the left crazy. They don't have the ability to sit there and say, "Look at this member of Congress, look at the senator, look at this governor, taking corporate dollars or personally." Look, if you want to look at Nancy Pelosi and her stock trading scandals, that's one thing, but that's not what we're talking about here. This is corruption in politics. And to be honest, there's some corrupt people in politics, but obviously our case and our law doesn't have anything to do with it.
Let's move on from the current case. The Supreme Court also, David, is considering presidential powers. Judge shopping is not a new tactic, but it seems that almost exclusively federal judges appointed from Clinton, Obama, and the new kids appointed by Joe Biden to the federal district and appellate courts have mangled the Constitution, trying to scuttle President Trump's appointments, firings, and even federal courts can now stop the commander-in-chief. What is the answer to this?
Well, first of all, thankfully, not in every case, but in most cases, the United States Supreme Court steps in and has, made right what these lower court activist judges have done. And so, I think that look, we have a process. I believe that the Supreme Court has to strengthen the executive's position legally in order to run the executive branch. The president, no matter what their name is, has to be in charge. They're the leader of the executive branch, and they must be able to hire and fire people that they want. And so these cases, and as you point out, the left goes around the country finding the most left-wing activist judge that they can, and they get the ruling that they want. And it slows the administration down. It slows what President Trump is trying to accomplish for the American people, whether it is protecting their tax dollars, protecting our national interest, to protecting our national security, energy policy, education policy, you name the issue.
Right.
The left has fought him at every turn because they hate President Trump more than they love our country. And so they're willing to do damage in order to win political points.
Blue slips have caused a jam up, I think, still with presidential appointments to the courts since January 21st. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. I mean, they've historically, the Senate's able to slow down confirmations of judges and, presidential appointments.
Right.
And it's been and the problem with the system is that they can do it anonymously.
Sure.
And I think that is, I think that there's some, I could see both sides of the argument in the Senate, but I believe that anonymity has to go away. You can put your name on a hold, but then you have to own the pressure that comes with that hold. And I think that that's an appropriate thing.
David, what's going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene? She's crazy.
Well, I think you.
And I'm trying to be polite.
I think he said.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Look, I've been around quite a while, and I've seen, characters come and go from Washington D.C. Right, different types of characters that are interesting, characters that mean well, and so she was somebody who came to rise in the Trump era, basically riding the Trump coattails, and then you see that she kind of has gone off the policy rails from a standpoint of supporting President Trump on a host of issues. And then she gets caught up in this conspiracy theory material, which is really what's most troubles me. We can all have policy discussions and differences. That's fine. President Trump doesn't care. He knows where he is, who he is from a policy standpoint, and believes that he'll win the argument and win the day. And he has historically. But on this conspiracy stuff, this Epstein Island, where the Democrats throw irresponsibly around these allegations, not only to President Trump but to others, and she grabbed onto it, and there's no evidence whatsoever. And now we're seeing, I think today, that a second federal judge has ordered all of the material released. But in their ruling, they basically said there's no new information. There's nothing new. And so all the conspiracy theorists who believe that that they're holding something back that's going to be damaging to the president, is false on its face. But I would also add, guys, that Joe Biden's White House, Joe Biden's administration tried to bankrupt President Trump. They tried to jail President Trump. They impeached President Trump. And then radical leftists tried to murder President Trump. If we are sitting here today thinking that in a file in the Justice Department that was some piece of evidence that Donald Trump did something at Epstein's Island that they weren't willing to put out, is just farcical. And I think everybody who has any common sense understands that. The Biden administration was willing to do anything to destroy Donald Trump, including the release of any kind of information that they felt they needed to.
And David, if they had the information, they would have played it out before the election and tried to scuttle
exactly.
his chances to
That's
win.
my point. There's just no way of all the things that they were willing to do to him that they weren't going to do that. That's it. Anybody with any common sense knows that. And that's why President Trump sits there and says, We have to protect the victims. We have to protect the whistleblowers. We have to protect names from being put out that don't want to be put out. Okay, that's his position. What they do is they say, oh, he's afraid. He has something there's nothing there.
Well, they made stuff up about him and Russian hookers in a bed over, like.
Right. I mean, come on. We Russiagate saw a belly full of all of that garbage, that trash, that even the FBI director, former director, James Comey, was happy to participate in.
Right. David, we're about 11 months into Trump 2.0. What's your assessment of Donald Trump's greatest successes to make America great again?
Wow. Well, look, first of all,
there's a lot to cover.
there is. There's so much. He is. Look, we live, and when we are inside the Trump world, we call it Trump time, because he does more in a day. He does more in a week than most average people, let alone presidents or administrations, do. And so you see him hosting roundtables. Then you'll see him hosting meetings in the Oval Office and signing executive orders, signing legislation. He'll be holding press conferences. He'll be giving a major policy address like he did last night in Pennsylvania on the economy. He does more in a day than most presidents do in a week. And so you're looking at 10 months on, and you look at all of the different areas, from the wars that he has brought to the table, warring factions that he's brought to the table and created peace. And just one of those in 11 months, but he's done 6 or 7, and he's still got the Russia-Ukraine war to settle. But he's done an amazing job. You look what he's done in the Middle East. And just that in and of itself. And then you look at what he's done to try to kickstart the economy, trying to get money in from the tariffs, making sure that our economic national security is first and foremost, rebuilding our military, which after 4 years of Biden has been decimated. So you look at appropriations, you look at spending. He's trying to get back to pre-COVID. Imagine this, guys. We are trying to get back to pre-COVID spending levels. Guys, 6 years ago, federal spending, our federal budget was at $4.4 trillion annually. Today, it's $7 trillion per year. We are in a deficit spend mode as far as the eye can see. It took over 200 years for the United States government to amass a $5 trillion debt. $5 trillion debt, okay, just a mere 25 years ago. And in the last 25 years, we've added $33 trillion to the debt. We have a 38 staring at $39 trillion debt. The ballooning spending is crushing us. Right. The ballooning spending, and that's one of the things that President Trump is trying to get a handle on.
And then he comes out and floats the balloon, which really pisses off the Democrats. Hey, what if we were to get rid of the federal income tax?
You're right. Which, by the way, I mean, it would be, you talk about a stimulus package.
Right.
You talk about generating a high-speed economic recovery. That is what needs to be done. We need to take a new look, a fresh look. We have a devastating spending problem, and so the Republican Party, the Republican leadership wants to do the right thing by the American people, but it's not spending $7 trillion. And by the way, guys, you look at the money that has been wasted, the fraud, the abuse. Trump brings in this thing called Doge, right? And what does he get? He gets the left attacking him for wanting the American taxpayers' money to be accounted for, to find waste, fraud, and abuse inside of government spending and correct it. What does he do? He gets attacked for it. And then the joke of it all is this clown in Minnesota, this governor,
God,
is literally running a scandal, right, a fraud inside the state, using COVID era money to send overseas to
right,
potentially to terrorist organizations. This is the biggest scandal we've seen in a long time. We have to get to the bottom of it, and maybe as we learn more, we can visit again.
David, we got 45 seconds. Talk about the controversy over hitting Maduro SWIFT boats carrying poison to be delivered to American streets. This is a war, isn't it?
Yeah, look, guys, this. You asked the question the right way, which is posits that there's a controversy. I don't see a controversy. I think, like most common sense Americans, they see narco terrorists shipping in drugs into our country and killing Americans by the hundreds of thousands per year. Not just in its totality, which is bad enough, but every year 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 Americans lose their lives to overdoses and the scourge of fentanyl. And Donald Trump said enough is enough. We are going to stop it at every turn, and we are going to attack the purveyors of this poison, and we are going to attack them and kill them, and we are going to advertise it to make sure that the rest of the scumbags around the world see it. And if we have to double tap them, we're going to double tap them. And that sends the message that Donald Trump wants to send, which is, you mess with this country, the long arm of the law is going to come and get you. It may be a drone, it may be an airplane, it may be a battleship, but they're coming.
And we will find you wherever you are.
That's right.
David Bossie, Citizens United. It's too bad David doesn't have any opinions. I'm glad he shares them with us, though.
And we need to have you back on soon.
How does our audience find out more about Citizens United and maybe spread some gelt in your direction to boot?
Yeah, well, thank you. Go to citizensunited.org, citizensunited.com online. You can see our host of documentary films, our books, our policy papers, all the work that important work that Citizens United is doing, all of our op-eds. We write a ton of material here, and they can follow me, David_Bossie, on all of the social media platforms.
David Bossie, thanks so much for joining us today.
You're great.
Merry Christmas to you and your family, and we
thanks,
need to go
guys.
pay some bills. You need to get on to your day. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
David.
it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, no channel flipping. We'll be right back after we hear from the folks who help us pay the bills here at Live the Dream Media. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Inside Track with Bruce Ash on the Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsor.
It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And bugs fear the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll bugs, bees, and termites. And stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Ed Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Ed Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576, or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, This is what conservation and repurposing is all about.
Welcome back to Inside Track with Bruce Ash on the Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
Welcome back to Inside Track. This portion of the show brought to you by Ebb's great company, Wilkinson Wealth Management. He helps my family. Let him help yours also. Wilkinson Wealth Management. Call him today at 777-1911.
Nice.
Inside Track also brought to you by Essential Pest Control, Tucson Iron and Metal Company, and my company, Paul Ash Commercial Real Estate, where we make great things happen every day. Ebb. It was like a mile a minute with David, and there was lots of stuff that we didn't cover.
And, oh my God, there was so much stuff. We have to have him back on. Bruce, I'm not as politically astute as you are. What the heck is a blue slip?
A blue slip is a hold that a senator can put on judicial nominations. And the Democrats, part of their strategy of stopping Trump 2.0 has been to basically challenge him at every opportunity they can, not allowing him the nominations that he's put forward, not just for judges, but also
ambassadors,
but also on the executive level as well. And it's nobody's ever done this to a president quite the way that they're doing it with this president, and it's total Trump derangement syndrome. It just is. And what I didn't get to David, and I think David would say this with great authority, and he's much more close to the situation than I am. We've said it here before on the show. Donald Trump has been opposed not just by Democrats, but by members of his own party ever since he came down that escalator.
Absolutely.
In 2016, there was this conscience movement at the convention that was designed to derail his nomination.
Really?
That conscience movement wasn't a homegrown thing by these youngsters in Colorado. I am convinced that this was an inside job. These guys they colluded with the Colorado State Party, which is a little bit left of center anyway, and they didn't like him at all, to try to stop his nomination. Why? Because they knew that they would be the losers in the long run. They knew that he was a threat to their way of life, to their...
And that's on both sides.
What do you mean?
That's both Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, but the worst part of it is it came within our own party as well, through the Republican Party leadership level. And when myself and four other people worked these guys over for days, it just basically wore them down and divided them. It's like a psyops operation. We knew that the people that we were representing weren't the power brokers. None of us make any money from this. We all pay our own way.
Right.
And we all did this because we want our country to be stronger. We knew that the result of our action was he was going to get the nomination. Nobody could steal it from him. He had 24 million votes in primaries, and he won all of the contests that he participated in. And these guys, Priebus and other members of the office holders at the RNC, members of Congress, senators as well as House members, major business people around the country, they opposed him because he was talking about dramatic change in this country. And thank God we had him for 4 years, and thank God we have him for roughly another 3 years.
And I'm going to go one more. Thank God he lost the 2020 election.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that him losing 2020 is what is making him even more powerful today than he ever could be.
And part of it is just his sheer will, because he wanted to avoid the kind of problems he had before, and now he's prepared for it. But also he had a whole cadre of people that he probably didn't know half these people before who have now come forward and part of the America First Policy Institute, Heritage, and other places. And he's succeeded at every level. The president said yesterday he wants to assert the Monroe Doctrine here in our hemisphere. You know, we have basically ignored what's been going on in Latin America for years. And this goes back into the Kennedy administration.
Right.
And before that. Kennedy started the Alliance for Progress and the Pan American Council and so on. But when you look through the years, the importance of South America has been diminished because of the oil production in the Middle East, the great trade which was developed in China starting, in 1970s, mid 70s, and then when they got into the WTO at our urging,
yes,
they've become this huge trading giant for the entire world. Everybody looked past South America, but the Russians didn't, and the Chinese
didn't.
And they've made inroads both in Latin America, in Central and South America, as well as in the Caribbean. And that's what the president is fighting against. That's what the administration is trying to do. And these guys, they think that, well, Jack Reed, curious comment that he made, not hitting cartel kingpins, but the guys driving the fast boats loaded with poison are just trying to make a living. Right,
that was the most ridiculous.
Working class guys.
That was the most ridiculous comment out there, and so you've got.
He said it with sincerity.
I know, I get that, but you've got Maduro out there deliberately. First, he empties the prisons.
Right.
Then he empties the insane asylums, sends them all up, and then he starts, flooding us with drugs.
Right.
And. But before him, back in 2000, was it 2011 when we had this first turnover? The Venezuela was flourishing. They had so much money from their oil production. Then these corrupt politicians come in, steal it, drive their citizens into abject poverty. If I were a Venezuelan, hell yes, I'd want to come to the United States. But I'm not going to drive a drug boat, filled with Hunter's Christmas presents.
So the opposition to Maduro was this woman who just received the Nobel Peace Prize. And there's been speculation as to whether or not she was actually going to go to Oslo to get the award. She's not. She says that she's not worried about getting there. She's worried about ever getting back home again. She thinks that she might be killed if she leaves the country. She's in hiding right now in Venezuela. God knows where the heck that is. But this is the sort of communist dictatorship that you have, not just in Venezuela, but several other South American countries that have been infected by this. And if we don't do something now to stop these guys, we're all in a world of hurt. And the president takes an oath of office to defend the country against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. I would argue that we have enemies that are both foreign and domestic who are trying to kill citizens in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions over the decades, trying to kill America by spreading that poison. It's not just a demand issue, okay? It really is. This poison has been pumped into our country over and over and over again.
When you lose 100,000 people in 1 year, that's the equivalent of a 737 crashing every single day. And, for the first time we have a president, and I know Reagan tried it. He did try. I did some work under him. But I will tell you that now we have a president who really is putting his foot down, saying no more. Screw this. We're taking you guys out. Maduro, you better find a place to go, because I'll find you a place to go.
Well, he would like to find a place to go. So from the Wall Street Journal, Trump plans final interviews with Fed chair candidates in coming days. The president said that he will be looking at a couple of different people for the Fed chair. We were talking about this before the show started today. We're looking for a discount rate decrease tomorrow, maybe 25 basis points. It'll be interesting to see what happens and what impact it'll have on the market. The last week or so, the stock market has been slowly dropping back.
Because they're waiting to see what's going on.
Exactly.
And if we get a 25 basis point cut, it's not going to be unanimous.
No, it's probably a 5-4 decision.
Right.
Sounds like the old Supreme Court.
Exactly.
The way it was working before there was
nothing to see here. Keep moving on.
From the guy who wants to be president, Gavin Newsom, California's new tax, what do you think it is? It's a monthly subscription to use state roads.
And do you know why that is? Part of that is because they have pushed so hard to make cars more efficient.
Right.
Number one. Number two, to bring in electric cars.
Right.
And when you have the electric cars, they're not paying
Right. They're not
road
paying
tax.
the gas tax.
When you have cars that are more efficient, that's taking away the gas tax as well.
Right.
And he has been using this HERF money for things other than the roads. He's using it
That stupid train that is like, $20 billion over budget in Northern California, for starters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the only way that he can do this and try and keep things going in California. They're bleeding people. They are bleeding businesses.
They reported that the bleed wasn't quite as obvious this past year.
Because the majority of people left.
Well, illegals left.
Right.
That was probably the greatest number of people who left that state. Jasmine Crockett, that oracle from Texas.
Oh, my God.
She says that she's running for U.S. Senate. She wants to face off with John Cornyn, the Democrat favorite who ran against Ted Cruz in the last election, Colin Allred. He dropped out the same day, actually even before she announced. He drops out. Crockett is running for U.S. Senate, she says, because it's time to take the country back from con man Trump. Another Trump deranged individual. She has no business. And think about the U.S. Senate. It's supposed to be this austere, slow-moving. We've seen the slow-moving and deliberate process. This woman will destroy it the way she's trying to destroy the U.S. House. Listen to some of these things that she claims about Trump. She claimed the vast majority of violent crime comes from white supremacists. Crockett said that she was not sure if there will be an election in 4 years. Crockett said Trump and his supporters are in a cult, and Trump was an enemy of the state. Also said that Trump is a wannabe Hitler as well as a piece of SHIT.
Adam Schiff.
Piece of Adam Schiff is right. And that Donald Trump is throwing people into concentration camps. Actually, I hope she does get the nomination. I think John Cornyn might have had a more difficult time with a guy like Colin Allred. This is a cakewalk. But everybody has to take her seriously. This woman is a dangerous threat to order in the U.S.
She's
Senate.
a carpetbagger that's using a fake accent.
How many wigs does she have? Every time you see her, she's got a different do.
And when you're bored, go online and search Jasmine Crockett loses her wig.
I'm afraid to. How bad of a site? How do you find the time to go look for stuff like this?
Well, it's like Michelle Obama, who came out and said she had to have hair and makeup and she had to have somebody do her wardrobe because do you know how difficult it is for a woman like her to do that and be ready on time?
Well, Big Mike. You wasted it on your wardrobing, you wasted it on your makeup and your hairdos because you're still Big Mike as far as everybody's concerned.
Exactly. So let's talk about Russian Chinese bombers flying joint patrol close to Japan.
More, as Bob would say, more gray warfare, ongoing now. But it's also Russia and China. If you remember your geography, Tucson High graduates, you've got China, which is directly across the way from Japan, and the upper northeastern tip of Russia, also in that area, Vladivostok, I think, would probably be a major port in that area. So flying jets to harass and to just provoke uncertainty and discord between these countries.
Yeah, it's a show of force.
And the new prime minister of Japan, she is a warrior, and she went in. She got her election because she was saying that we're gonna stand up to China. We're not going to take any crap from these guys. They're trying to teach her a lesson or two. Prominent.
So with that being said, let's talk about China and Taiwan.
Yep.
They're still provoking Taiwan.
Yep.
Okay. I fully believe that the only reason they haven't attacked is because Donald Trump is now in the White House.
Well, that was silly because they should have done it before he came into the office.
And there was great fear that it was going to happen between November and January 20th.
Right.
I've got to believe that Trump talked to people and said, look, you can do this, but January 20th is going to suck for you.
I've said this before. I'll say it again for those who weren't listening or watching at the time. China could take Taiwan from the inside in a few days. They already have enough people, most likely, in places of authority, whether it be in communications, the police, highways, ports of entry, city councils, mayors, and so on, all through that country. Most Taiwanese under 50 years old, they barely remember the stories that their grandfathers told them about marching through China and coming to what was then called Formosa. They as a country, they have hundreds of millions, probably in the billions of dollars, Taiwanese investments inside of Red China. And Red China has billions of dollars invested inside of Taiwan. They can do this whenever they want. I think it's just a matter of keeping them at bay and making sure that the Taiwanese people are as safe as possible. And on that point, let's see here. I talked about, found a thing about Jimmy Lai. Jimmy Lai was the Hong Kong publisher who was, I think, illegally jailed and tried for crimes against the state. He's celebrating his 78th birthday in prison, where he's been for 5 years. Wow. The president has said that he's called upon the Chinese for Mr. Lay's release. He's set to meet his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, in Beijing in April. The U.S. and China have much to discuss, everything from rare earths and tariffs to Tokyo's public pushback on the Chinese military. But freeing Mr. Lai deserves to be on the agenda. And I say whatever I can, free Jimmy Lai.
And here's a newspaper owner turned political prisoner. His only crime was that he was calling out the CCP for breaking their 1997
which
agreement
everybody in the world knows
to protect human rights.
Everything in they've basically torn up that document completely.
They have. And now let's go from there over to England,
right,
where they're basically getting ready to do away with free speech.
I mean, how does that happen? This is England was the originator of free speech. It was part of their culture, part of their way of being, and people can have these warrants served upon them for insulting others or saying something that was hurtful to somebody,
or having a picture on Facebook of holding a rifle while you're in the United States.
Give me a break.
And being put in jail. You know,
we're not that far off potentially from the same sort of situation.
No, we're not
here in this country. From Breitbart News today, Texas troopers stand guard over security operations at the historic Alamo. I guess the illegal immigrants in San Antonio not happy with the image of the Alamo and are creating some problems there. Teenage Afghan illegal migrants convicted of filming rape of 15-year-old in England. Now, this is something probably did deserve a conviction, but the defense blames cultural differences. Really?
Wait, what are the cultural differences?
Really? Filming a rape of two guys filming a rape of a 15-year-old?
They all have to go back.
Well,
I think Trump is correct.
That genie is out of the bottle in Europe.
Right.
From Finland and Sweden all the way to Greece.
Having been to both Finland and Sweden, and having been there before this took place and afterwards, they started off when you went to Sweden, I was there in 1992, very homogeneous society.
Right.
Blonde-haired, blue-eyed, beautiful country.
clean streets.
clean streets. You could walk
No
down.
graffiti on any building.
No, you could walk down Stockholm at 2 in the morning, old Stockholm called Gamla You could walk there at 2 in the morning, feel completely safe.
What was it
Now
called?
it's
What was it?
Gamla
So now
Old
it's
Stockholm.
Afghanistan.
No, yeah, it's Afghanistan, yeah. But now the Turks have come in, and at the time when I was there, they said, what do you have against immigration? You should have it. And now they understand the push of not having that cultural homogeneous homogeny,
Homogeneous.
is causing them all sorts of problems. Finland, the same way.
People ought to be coming to a country not just for benefits, but because they share common values and common goals for their lives.
Absolutely.
And don't bring their problems from the country that they left. When my family came to this country, they left oppression in Russia, in Italy, in France, in Ukraine, and they came here and within just a brief period of time understood what it took to be successful, understood what this country stood for. Living in closeted communities where you're not blending with the rest of the population, you're not going to school with kids from all different sides of life. These are things that are happening, and now in places like Dearborn and Hamtramck, elsewhere as well, in a lot of different locations, they want to impose Sharia law. That is going to be potentially a huge battle that we're going to be arguing about in this country for a number of years to come.
And having grown up in that area and gone to Dearborn, to Greenfield Village and Henry Ford Museum, where once again, it was homogeneous from the standpoint that everybody was there for the American value, whether you're black, white, Greek, Hamtramck, Hamtramck,
Right.
Okay, was the Polish community.
Right.
They're gone.
Right. Yeah, the Poles and the Lithuanians were big time there.
They're gone. They're pushed out. And I think they're looking at it going, hey, we escaped just in time.
Right. Prominent anti-Hamas militia leader killed in Gaza, Yasser Abu Shabab, led a small Palestinian militia opposing Hamas that was armed by Israel, and he removes a potential future leader in Gaza. Israel is trying to develop this cadre of men and women who will take control of the government and be responsible leaders. Hamas rubbed him out pretty quickly. Kamala Harris, this was great. You're going to love this. Kamala Harris, there will be a marble bust of me in Congress. I am a historic figure.
There will be marble, but it will be in the men's room, and it'll be the urinal.
In her head. She got marbles in her head.
Yeah.
That's just an unbelievably self-centered, egotistic attitude.
So where's Kamala Harris 5 years from now?
She's probably in a
in all seriousness.
No, seriously, she's probably working as a provost or on the board of a Cal State university or some other like-kind position elsewhere in the country, but probably in California because that's her home state.
Sure.
She, no doubt, is out of the race in 2028. And if after 8 years, people just sort of forget you and you need to move on with life. So I think she is a non-entity. She had a brief fling. If this is what the first female vice president looked like, a cackling, silly person who specialized in word salads as opposed to action, the person who was the border czar and never went to the border except for
But she's
once.
never been to Europe either.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Let's talk about Zoran Mandami.
Yeah. He picked a convicted armed robber to lead a public safety transition team.
Jeez.
So, I don't think we've really talked much about his visit with the president a few weeks back. He won a historic victory in New York in the mayor's race.
He did.
And Trump was right to greet him and meet him in the White House and try to figure out how he can work together with the federal government. Trump openly said that the federal government wants to work with New York because a great New York is important to America.
And Trump loves New York.
Yeah, well, it's his family history. It's his own personal history, and he has real estate there and businesses that he's built up over the years. Tons and tons of relationships with people from construction workers all the way up to titans of industry. This is a big deal to him.
And speaking of that, I was in New York 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
how's that wing?
Oh man, it's getting better.
Good.
But I've had a chance when I was there. I had a chance to talk to a lot of people. I'll call it on the street. The cab drivers, the bartenders, the wait staff, the whole bit.
Probably a lot more bartenders than anything else.
Of course. By the way, the best steakhouse, as I told John Castamatidis, who agreed with me, Gallagher's Steakhouse on 52nd.
So that's your favorite?
It is. But talking to the people, they don't say out loud for everybody else to hear, but it's common, I am really worried about what's going to happen when Mondami takes over. And that's pretty much across the area. Mm-hmm. A couple of people.
His success is up to him and nobody else.
Correct.
He still has to work with the city council and a lot of bureaucracy that exists within New York City. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets pushback from a number of members of the New York City Council, as well as government officials there, as well as the governor, whoever that might be.
It won't be Hochul.
And if Elise Stefanik is successful next year, maybe Republican governor for the first time in like a long time.
What, 40 years?
No. Pataki was governor
George.
in the early 2000s after Giuliani. Yeah. There's a lot at stake for him. He is going to upset, I think, more people on the left because he has to move more to the middle. He's never going to be in the middle, and he certainly is never going to be right of center. But he needs to move in the direction of the middle. Otherwise, he can't get done what he wants to get done. And it's just going to be a standoff, and he's going to be very frustrated, and things aren't going to go so well in New York City.
So you're a real estate guy.
I think of myself like
that,
yeah.
If what's her name? Who's our mayor? I keep forgetting her name. Regina Romero. If she institutes in any way, shape, or form,
she's Jesse Millette Grijalva's
evil twin
sister.
If they implement price, what do you call it? Rent freezes and things like that.
Right.
What does that do to overall prices for housing and real estate?
Well, it freezes most of them where they're at. It drives owners into serious economic problem because they may freeze rents, but the people who supply services, the banks who loan money, the utilities who provide power and other utilities, people who are picking up trash, they're not going to keep their rates the same because there's a rent freeze in the city of Tucson. So owners are basically.
And then won't it ultimately drive up the rental prices? And here's why I say that. Mrs. Bluehair moves out of her rent-controlled apartment or rent-controlled house.
Right.
The owner now has a chance to raise that rate up. He's going to raise it an ungodly amount because he knows he's not going to be able to do it again until the next person moves out.
That's providing that it follows your example that rent control will come off when Mrs. Bluehair moves out. It probably won't.
Well, they're not going to keep the same price when the next person moves in.
Yeah, but if the rent is frozen at a certain value.
So in New York, when you move out of your rent-controlled apartment, they raise the rate on that. It doesn't stay at that rate.
There's different systems in different cities. I mean, some of the buildings around the country have been locked at rates that are like 1970s rates.
Wow. And how do the owners still afford to keep those?
Because they can't afford to sell them. I mean, that's a crazy thing. Yeah, it's nutty. Tom Holman.
This is a great story.
Trump administration rescues over 60,000 missing migrant kids. And it's basically because Joe Biden ignored this problem. Ignored it.
And these are the kids that would come across the border with a note pinned to their shirt.
Go see
Take me to this place
Felipe
here.
and Lupe in Chicago. Okay. And they've been sold sometimes as slave labor, or certainly cloistered labor, or sex workers. I mean, the numbers actually, it's greater than 60,000. There might be over 250,000 of these kids who've been lost, and so at least 60,000 of them so far. And it wouldn't be happening unless Donald Trump came to the White House and has begun to enforce immigration laws, and his design was to get as many of these children back, give them their lives back. Well, I'm looking at the clock. I think we're getting close. Yeah. So let's just end with this. Maybe not a victory for Donald J. Trump. Jimmy Kimmel signs a 12-month contract extension with Disney and ABC. Some people never learn.
I want to go to one thing. Last Sunday was the 81st observance of the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Jane and I went to make a pilgrimage, the memorial on the U of A Mall, and it really is, it's quite moving. And a friend of mine was a Naval Academy classmate of the grandson of the captain of that boat when it went down. And his grandfather died on, at the helm, if you will, of that ship when it blew up.
At the bridge.
At the bridge. And his name was Captain Kidd, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, every time I go there, and I was a part of that group who raised the money, gave money, and thought that this was an incredibly important thing to have on the U of A campus. There's a certain kind of a magical thing where the bell was on the ship in real life is in this related to the Student Union building, where the actual Arizona Bell is located in the bell tower. Mm-hmm. They're exactly at the same place.
Wow.
Not by somebody making a mistake, not by deliberately putting it there. It's where it fit in. And the entire length of the ship fits in that space between the beginning of Old Main and to the Cactus Garden. I just think this is an incredible place that not enough people go and visit. There's 12 survivors left from the Pearl Harbor attacks. Can you imagine? Probably 100
and the last one from the Arizona died
about 15 months or so ago. When those people are gone, how will we remember that day? When the people who lost their lives in 9/11, when their offspring die, what will school children talk about then?
Well, let's talk about this. The people that are retiring from the military today, after 20 years of service, enlisted 3 years after 9/11.
Right. Pretty crazy. This is a great country when you look at things like that. And we'll end on this point. President Trump signs Medal of Honor Act to raise benefits for military heroes. 63 living recipients of the Medal of Honor see their annual payments on their pensions jump from $16,880 to around $67,500.
God bless them.
And I'll give credit where credit's due. This was a totally bipartisan bill. Democrats voted almost unanimously for this as well. A great thing. Eb?
Hey, before we finish up, thanks to everybody who helped support Wreaths Across America this holiday. Bruce and I hope to see you this Saturday at the Marana Veterans Cemetery. They're going to lay hundreds of wreaths on veterans' grave sites. And thanks so much for joining us today. All of our Inside Track podcasts are available on Live the Dream Media's Facebook Live page. YouTube, Apple, and X. We're going to be back next Wednesday for a special War on Terror show with retired U.S. Navy Captain Kirk Lippold and his former shipmate, Bob Wells. Until next week, this is Eb Wilkinson.
And Bruce Ash.
We'll see you again in 167 hours.
You're listening to Inside Track with Bruce Ash on the Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsor.
It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And bugs fear the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll eliminate those bugs, bees, and termites. And stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Eb Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Eb Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576. Or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail. This